Hello, this is Dave Marshall, and what I'd like to do today is show you how to properly use the bandsaw. This is the bandsaw. It gets its name from the shape of the blade. It's shaped like a band, kind of like a rubber band. We have 3 of these in the classroom. Let's go through and identify all the different parts of the bandsaw. First, we've got the guard. The guard is designed to protect your fingers from the blade while it's moving. Next, we have the table. The table is what you place and hold your wood down to while cutting. From the front, you'll also be able to access the start and stop button, which is located on the left of the bandsaw. The start is green and the stop is red. You can also notice on the table there's a red circle right around where the blade goes through. This is the throat plate. It's painted red because this is a danger area. We want to keep our fingers a minimum of 3 inches away from the blade at all times and in all directions. We also want to make sure the dust gate is open. This allows our vacuum system to remove the dust. Now let's move on to the back of the machine and see what's located back there. The knob at the very top is designed to tension the blade. This is something the instructor will do. The next knob we want to look at has a round ball at the end of it. This knob is used for making quick blade changes. Again, this is something the instructor will use. And the last knob we want to look at on the back is the one to loosen and tighten the guard. Let me show you how that's done. Here's a close-up view of what that knob looks like. I'm placing my hand on it and I'm turning it counterclockwise to loosen the knob. Once the knob's loosened, I'll be able to adjust the guard up and down, and when I get it to the right location, I'm going to reach back in with my hand and then tighten the knob back up to hold the guard in position. Every time you use the bandsaw, you should properly adjust the guard to the thickness of the material that you're using. I like to place my material along the side of the guard, pulling the guard up with my left hand and sliding the board underneath it. Then I'm taking this piece of aluminum that's 1/8 of an inch thick, and I'm placing the guard back down on top of it lightly and tightening up the guard with my right hand, sliding the material out, and now the guard is adjusted to the right height, 1/8 of an inch above my material. We want to make sure when we're cutting our project, we cut on the waist side of the line so that we can sand to that line and make our project perfect. Now I'm going to make a cut. Notice I have my sleeves rolled up, the guard's adjusted to the right height, and I'm lining the blade up to the piece of wood. I start the saw with the blade disengaged from the wood and slowly engage it. Notice my hands are 3 inches away from the blade at all times during my cut. I'm taking the blade and going along the waist side of the project, leaving my line. I can always go back and make a second cut if I'm not close enough or sand to my line. As I start to get near the end of my project, I'm going to slow down and wait and go real slow right here at the end until that blade slowly comes out. A very common mistake for 7th graders is to go too fast. And I'm going to stop the saw and wait for the blade to stop and then remove my parts. The bandsaw is one of many machines in the shop that will come to a coasting stop. It's very important to make sure that we can see the teeth on the blade before we reach in and grab parts from underneath the bandsaw. Watch. See the teeth now? Now it's safe to move in. Let's now finish cutting out our project. The piece is getting a little bit on the small side for the bandsaw, so I'm going to use a push stick with my right hand because my right hand would have to get within 3 inches of the blade, which is unsafe. The push stick is an extension of our hand. Once again, I'm cutting on the waist side of the line. At this point, I'm going to reach over and grab my push stick and put it right on the corner of my block of wood, using it as an extension of my hand. I'm working the piece of wood through the saw, and as I get near the end, I'm going to slow down, let the saw do the work, and come out nice and slow. I'm going to turn the machine off, wait until I can see the teeth, and once I can see the teeth right there, I'm going to remove my 2 parts. Don't reach in before that saw stops. Notice here on my project, you can still see my project lines I've cut on the waste side of the material. Sometimes with the bandsaw on sharp corners, you're going to need to create a relief cut. This cut will help the blade turn and make the corner. Let me demonstrate that for you. First thing we'll need to do is make the relief cuts with the bandsaw. We'll take the bandsaw and we'll run it in right to the project line on both sides first. You can see here I've already made that relief cut with the bandsaw. I've run the line right into the edge. Now I've turned the saw on and I'm following on the waste side of my project and I'm coming right up to that relief cut that I made with the bandsaw. Again, I just took the bandsaw and I cut right into my project line. As I'm coming up right here and starting to make my turn, that piece of wood will become loose and it will relieve the pressure from the blade. I'm going to continue up and around on my waste side of the project. Notice here I'm only using one hand. I'm actually adjusting my hands here around to keep them 3 inches or further away from the blade at all times. I'm coming back down to the other side, which I've already cut the relief out of. Again, I'm going to go nice and slow here, turn the saw off, and wait until I can see the teeth before I reach my hands in there. I can see the teeth now. It's safe to go in and retrieve my parts. You can see here when I put the pieces back together what the relief cuts did. It allowed the saw blade to go up and make those sharp turns and remove small little pieces and relieve the pressure from the blade. That's why they're called relief cuts. Remember, every time you use the saw in class, you're going to need to ask the instructor for permission. You're going to need your safety glasses on, hair tied up and pulled back if it's long enough, sleeves rolled up, loose jewelry or bracelets tucked in or taken off, and make sure you have your push stick and your metal plate to adjust your guard to the proper height. Let's review some bandsaw safety rules. Number 1, always ask permission to use the bandsaw. Always keep your fingers a minimum of 3 inches away from the moving blade. Hair should be tied up, sleeves should be rolled back, and any loose items removed. Make sure the guard is adjusted to 1/8 of an inch above your material. Only one operator at a time, and make sure you have 3 feet of room around you. And don't forget, make sure your safety glasses are on. At any point during the year when you're using the bandsaw, if you've got a question, stop and ask your instructor. Would rather have you ask me 100 times how to properly use the bandsaw than have you use it improperly one time. The bandsaw is a very fun, safe tool. I hope you enjoy it this year.